The disappearance of Flight 19.
We should be seeing land by now. There's nothing out there.
The mystery that sparked the legend of the Bermuda Triangle.
And they never have found where they're at. And I says, well, they're looking in the wrong place.
Will you be as surprised by this story as I was? The mystery of Flight 19, a group of 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers that disappeared over the Atlantic Ocean on December 5th, 1945. The pilots became lost and disoriented.
We should be seeing land by now. There's nothing out there.
Their fuel ran low, and their luck ran out.
We don't know which way is west.
Radio contact was lost, and no trace of the crews or their planes have ever been found. The U.S. Navy listed reason for the loss as cause unknown. Others believe the planes were victims of the legendary Bermuda Triangle. It's a mystery that captivates people to this day.
They were at 4,000 feet, which meant that they were flying above the clouds. They were actually doing...
World War II veteran Jim Plummer is the last person alive to have been in radio contact with Flight 19. And he has his own theory of what happened to those air crews.
And why he didn't listen to that answer, nobody will ever know.
The official military records for the lost Flight 19, nearly 550 pages, were eventually declassified and entered as file number M1657 into the National Archives in the Federal Records Center in Fort Worth, Texas in 2001. 6 months after the end of World War II, on December 5th, 1945, Flight 19 took off on a routine navigation and combat training exercise, otherwise known as Navigation Problem Number 1. Flight 19 consisted of 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers, flown by a lead instructor and 4 other pilots seeking navigation certification. These flight crews were not rookies. The flight leader, Lieutenant Charles Carroll Taylor, designation FT-28, had over 2,500 flying hours, mostly in this type of airplane, while his trainee pilots each had over 300 total hours, with approximately 60 flight hours in the TBM Avenger. They were U.S. Marine Captains Edward Joseph Powers and George William Stivers, as well as U.S. Marine Second Lieutenant Forrest James Gerber and U.S. Navy Ensign Joseph Tipton Bosse. The TBM Avenger was the most effective submarine killer during World War II. In fact, the aircraft was so capable that it remained in use another 20 years after World War II. Records show each aircraft in Flight 19 was properly maintained and fully fueled. However, during pre-flight checks, it was discovered they were all missing clocks. This was strange because Navigation Problem Number 1 was designed to teach dead reckoning principles, which involved calculating, among other things, elapsed time. The lack of clocks apparently was not a cause for concern, however, as it was assumed each pilot had his U.S. Navy-issued wristwatch. If you're fascinated by digging into these historical details, then I hope you'll consider becoming a History X member.
We would take turns flying all day long, and you did almost every job that had in there. I was a mechanic half of the time. I'm Jim Plummer. I'm from Medina, Ohio. I was in the Navy during the war, and I flew in blimps. Well, everyone in the crew flew the blimps. We would escort U.S. subs out of their home port around Florida. We would take them out to sea to the Bahamas on the surface. Oh, I like the Bahamas. That was a great place.
The morning of December 5th, 1945 was just like any other.
We took off at 5 in the morning. The pilot we had, Wagner was his name. He was a commander at the time. And we took off and he says, "You're the radio operator today." We were all over the sky that day. Didn't get back till almost midnight.
It was their last practice before graduation, and they had done this before.
They were actually doing training for the pilots. That was a regular occurrence.
It was supposed to be a routine navigation exercise and mock bombing run.
They took off exactly east, going towards the Bahamas.
About 90 minutes after takeoff, the squadron commander, Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor, reported that he was having compass problems and that the flight was lost.
This is Fox 28. We seem to be off course. We cannot see land. Repeat, we cannot see land. Can you give us a fix? Over.
They got a report from the commander of the flight. He lost his navigation equipment.
Everything is wrong.
We don't know which way is west.
By this time, the weather and sea conditions got worse as the evening wore on.
The clouds would form over the islands in the afternoon. So if you got yourself lost in the day, you could look for a cloud and then fly to that. Sure enough, you'd find an island underneath the thing in the afternoon. They were at 4,000 feet, which meant that they had a cloud deck below them. They were flying above the clouds.
During their routine mission escorting a U.S. submarine to the Bahamas, Jim Plummer sat at his station monitoring the radio.
Lieutenant Taylor, sir?
Don't you think that we should go west? My instruments appear to be working.
You want me to take the lead, sir?
Bossy, maintain your position. Over.
And there was one ensign. He called me, he says, "Look, sir," he says, "we have gone too far." And the commander of the flight says, "Oh no, we aren't even close to the island hotel."
It's believed that Flight 19 crisscrossed north of the Bahamas, well off the coast of Central Florida, before running out of fuel and ditching in the ocean. In the nearly 8 decades since their disappearance, hundreds of search expeditions have been conducted to locate the iconic Flight 19. However, no trace of any of the lost planes has been found. World War II veteran Jim Plummer believes the aircraft remain missing because they are looking in the wrong place.
And I think was the reason they made a right turn and tried to come back, and they ran out of fuel and landed somewhere out in the deepest part of the ocean.
To dig into another great World War II mystery, check out Hitler's Lost Sub, search for the U-869, with special guest deep sea detective Richie Kohler from the History Channel.